It was pouring that night, the kind of rain that makes the streets blur into a silver haze, when fate decided to weave two lives together. Outside the towering glass building of Dawson Enterprises, a little girl sat on the cold steps, shivering. Her hair was damp, cheeks pale, and her small hands clutched a soaked teddy bear. Dozens of employees hurried past, umbrellas over their heads, eyes fixed on their phones, none stopping to notice the child who looked like she could collapse at any moment. Nobody cared, until a man in an old delivery jacket appeared at the entrance, holding a worn cardboard box against his chest. Ethan Price was used to being invisible. As a single dad working double shifts delivering packages, he didn't have the luxury of slowing down. But when his eyes landed on the girl, something inside him froze. She reminded him of his own daughter, Lily, small, fragile, and precious beyond the world's understanding. He knelt beside her. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" She didn't answer, only gave a weak cough, and that was when he felt the burning heat on her forehead. Without another thought, Ethan dropped the package onto the dry ledge, scooped her into his arms, and dashed into the storm. The hospital was 2 blocks away, but it felt like miles with every heartbeat racing against the clock. Her breathing was shallow, her lips turning blue, and Ethan could hear the pounding rain over his own ragged breaths. He pushed through the ER doors, shouting for help. Nurses rushed forward, wheeling the girl away while Ethan stood soaked and trembling, unsure if he should stay or go. Minutes later, a man in an immaculate suit stormed in, dripping with urgency rather than rain. His eyes scanned the room until they locked onto Ethan. "Where is she?" "My daughter." It was Alexander Dawson, the CEO whose name was on half the buildings downtown. The nurses pointed him toward the pediatric ICU, but before he went in, he stopped. You brought her here?" His voice cracked, just barely, but Ethan nodded. Inside the ICU, Alex's world almost shattered. His daughter, Sophie, lay tiny and still under the harsh white lights, an oxygen mask covering her face. The doctor explained she had a severe asthma attack, worsened by pneumonia. If she hadn't been brought in when she might not have made it. Alex turned, his polished composure stripped away, looking at the delivery driver who had risked everything. Over the next few days, Ethan stayed, even though he had no obligation. He fetched water, ran to the pharmacy for prescriptions, and even read to Sophie when Alex stepped out for meetings. Something about the single dad's quiet, steady presence began to anchor Alex, this man who owned empires but had never known how to slow down for the people who truly mattered. And then Alex met Lily. She came with Ethan one evening, holding a crayon drawing for Sophie. It was 2 girls holding hands under a rainbow, with "Get well soon" written in crooked letters. Sophie's smile, the first since her attack, made Alex's chest tighten in a way he couldn't explain. He watched as Ethan knelt by the bed, speaking to Sophie like she was the most important person in the world. One night, when Sophie was finally breathing easier, Alex sat with Ethan in the quiet cafeteria. "You didn't have to do what you did," Alex said softly. "Most people wouldn't." Ethan shrugged. "Most people forget that at the end of the day, money, titles, all that, it means nothing if you can't protect the people you love." The words hit Alex harder than he expected. He had been surrounded by employees, acquaintances, even so-called friends, but in the moment his daughter's life hung in the balance, it was a stranger who stepped forward. When Sophie was discharged, Alex didn't just offer Ethan a job, he offered him a place in their lives. At first, Ethan hesitated, not wanting to cross the blurred line between gratitude and something more. But the truth was, the connection was already there, not just between him and Alex, but between Lily and Sophie, 2 little girls who had found a sister in each other. Months later, as the 4 of them sat at a park, Sophie running ahead with Lily, Alex turned to Ethan. "You know, I think love doesn't always arrive with grand gestures. Sometimes, it walks in soaked to the bone, carrying the most precious thing you have to safety." Ethan chuckled. "And sometimes, it wears a suit and realizes there's more to life than numbers on a screen." The bond between the 4 of them grew in ways none of them could have imagined. At first, it was small moments, Alex dropping by Ethan's modest apartment to bring groceries when he learned Ethan sometimes skipped meals to make sure Lily ate, or Ethan picking Sophie up from school when Alex was stuck in a meeting. But with every shared meal, every laughter-filled afternoon in the park, and every late-night conversation over coffee, the invisible walls around their hearts began to fall. Sophie's recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional. She had been a quiet child, always guarded, perhaps sensing the loneliness in her father's life. But with Lily around, her laughter returned like sunlight breaking through clouds. The two girls built pillow forts in Alex's penthouse, painted each other's nails with messy enthusiasm, and made up elaborate bedtime stories where heroes always rescued each other, no matter what. Ethan found himself seeing sides of Alex the world never saw. Beneath the commanding presence of a CEO was a man who desperately wanted to be a good father but had been trapped in the belief that providing financially was enough. And Alex saw in Ethan something rare, integrity that didn't waver, even when life had been cruel. One evening, after the girls had fallen asleep on the couch watching cartoons, Alex and Ethan sat on the balcony overlooking the glittering city. The air was cool, the hum of traffic far below. Alex took a deep breath, his voice low.